Welcome back, my friends. The news today is that Apple is getting downgrades from prominent investment banks. Apple was hit with a second downgrade with inventory concerns to blame. Apple shares fell 4% after Barclays downgrade. Following that, Piper Sandler analysts Harsh Kumar and Robert Aguano downgraded Apple to neutral from overweight and cut their price target on the shares to $205 from $220 in a wider semiconductors industry report Thursday. After some quarters of declining revenue and iPhone sales weakness, are we witnessing the beginning of the decline of Apple? But before we get into all of that, I would like to thank everyone who views my videos. If you would like to support the channel, please see the link to buy me a coffee in the video description below. And please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Apple shares fell 4% after Barclays downgraded the stock and trimmed its price target, saying weakening iPhone 15 sales were likely a warning sign for iPhone 16 sales and broader hardware projections. Analyst Tim Long also expects weakness in the services business, citing regulatory scrutiny as one factor. iPhone sales have been worrying some analysts and investors since at least October. Apple continued its struggle in the new year on Thursday, plumbing an 8-week low after Piper Sandler handed the tech giant its second downgrade this week on worries about iPhone demand. The rating action knocked Apple shares down 1.4% at 181.6, causing its market value to decline nearly $170 billion so far in the opening week of 2024. Apple shares slipped 4% on Tuesday, after Barclays downgraded the stock to underweight and slightly trimmed its price target from $161 to $160. Barclays analyst Tim Long wrote in a note to clients Tuesday that the iPhone 15's current lackluster sales, specifically in China, presaged similarly weak iPhone 16 sales, weakness that Long expects will hold true for Apple's hardware sales broadly. We are still picking up weakness on iPhone volumes and mix, as well as a lack of bounce back in Macs, iPads, and wearables, Long wrote. Analysts and investors had noted specific weakness in China iPhone sales as far back as October. Bloomberg has previously reported that the Chinese government has issued informal guidance forbidding state employees from using iPhones. The Chinese government has denied issuing such guidance. Long expects that Apple's lucrative services business will also see decelerated growth, in part due to regulatory scrutiny. Gross margin in Apple's services businesses is roughly double the margin Apple makes on all its hardware products, and Apple CEO Tim Cook highlighted better-than-expected growth in that unit on an earlier investor call. But Barclays doesn't necessarily believe that growth is reliable in the long term. In 2024, we should get an initial determination on the Google TAC, and some App Store investigations could intensify, Long wrote, referring to the payments Google makes to Apple to retain its default search status. Google CEO Sundar Pichai previously confirmed that the company pays 36% of its Safari search revenue to Apple. Regulators have been scrutinizing both Apple and Google and the default search status. Apple still remains the most valuable company by market value worldwide, with a capitalization of over $2.8 trillion. Its recent declines put it only 8% below an all-time high closing price in mid-December. Foxconn Technologies reported a year-over-year revenue decline for both December and the final quarter of 2023. The company is one of Apple's largest suppliers and a huge iPhone manufacturer. Barclays and Piper Sandler downgraded their rating on Apple stock earlier this week. Apple supplier and lead iPhone assembler Foxconn reported a revenue drop on Friday for the final quarter of 2023 and said it expects a year-over-year decline in sales for its first quarter of 2024. Foxconn revenue for the last 3 months of the year totaled NT $1.85 trillion, $59.7 billion, a 5.4% dip from the year-ago period. Foxconn attributed the decrease to weak or flat sales in its computing products, smart consumer electronics products, and cloud and networking products. The company's December revenue also fell 27% year-over-year. The outlook follows 2 downgrades to Apple stock earlier this week. Both firms pointed to softening iPhone sales. We are still picking up weakness on iPhone volumes and mix, as well as a lack of bounce back in Macs, iPads, and wearables, Barclays analysts wrote in a note to investors on Tuesday. The biggest takeaway from the latest checks is incrementally worse IP15 data points out of China, together with developed markets remaining soft, the note said, referring to the iPhone 15. The downgrade put a drag on shares of Foxconn and other Apple suppliers like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company on Tuesday. Piper Sandler issued its downgrade Thursday. We are concerned about handset inventories entering into 1H24, and also feel that growth rates have peaked for unit sales. Piper Sandler's Harsh Kumar wrote, noting that he expects a recovery in the handset market sometime during the second half of 2024. Shares of Apple are down about 5% since the start of the year. Apple's iPhone sales have been slowing down and aren't apt to bounce back anytime soon, if ever. However, it is important to note that Apple's revenue, increasingly being produced by its services arm, is much more profitable than product revenue. Apple is managing the broad slowdown of the smartphone market by better monetizing its slowly expanding iOS user base. According to a recent report, Piper Sandler analysts Harsh Kumar and Robert Aguano have downgraded Apple shares to neutral from overweight, and their price target on the shares has been cut to $205 from $220 in a wider semiconductors industry report. So, while Apple's iPhone sales are declining, the company is still generating significant revenue from its services arm. The recent downgrades by analysts have caused Apple's shares to fall, but it remains to be seen how the company will perform in the future. Apple's iPhone sales have been slowing down due to a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons is the global semiconductor shortage, which has affected the smartphone industry growth. Additionally, Barclays analysts believe that weak iPhone 15 sales may be a harbinger of weak hardware and iPhone 16 sales in the year ahead. According to BBC, Apple boss Tim Cook said the firm was navigating a challenging environment. He blamed the sales decline on supply shortages due to COVID-19 disruption in China, where its phones are manufactured, and a strong dollar, as well as wider economic weakness stemming from rising prices, the war in Ukraine, and lingering effects from the pandemic. Apple is managing the broad slowdown of the smartphone market by better monetizing its slowly expanding iOS user base. According to a recent report by CNET, Samsung has reclaimed the top spot in the smartphone market, shipping 60.3 million units, driven by a fresh lineup of products following the launch of its popular Galaxy 23 series in February. Apple's market share fell from 25% to 21%, while Samsung's share of the pie grew from 20% to 22%. So maybe this is the start of the decline of Apple that a lot of people have been predicting. Or maybe this is just a pause in the action that precedes new innovation and growth for Apple. But what do you think? Please hit the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. And before we end, a word from the sponsor of this video. Today's sponsor is ProWorldNet.com. ProWorldNet.com is a job website specifically dedicated to licensed professions. Doctors, including any type of specialty. Nurses, and that includes all grades of nurses. Lawyers, regardless of area of legal focus. Teachers and professors, from kindergarten through graduate school, as well as any kind of job that requires a government license or certification. And ProWorldNet.com also includes short-term gig-type jobs as well. So be sure to check out ProWorldNet.com if you are looking for a job or an employee. Thank you for watching.